Welcome back everyone to more iRacing content here at Knee Pit Gaming. Today's video is a very interesting situation for me because on one hand, Iowa Speedway, love Iowa Speedway. From the very beginning when it was designed for great racing, multiple grooves, and that's exactly what you get. You also get a lot of tire wear, a lot of fall off there in real life, and of course we know what we're going to get in the simulation as well. But the other side of that is that the AI, I've had a lot of issues with the AI at this track. So we're going to see that in some of the settings as we move down, the results of what I have found by doing some practice sessions and some short races at this track against the AI. We'll talk more about the AI and their behavior, and of course you're going to get to see a lot of that interesting behavior throughout the race as well. But we will be running the Iowa Speedway. Of course we'll be running the Oval. And if we move down to race sessions, then we'll be running a 50-lap race. So that's a little bit shorter than we would normally run here. I like to run close to a full fuel run so that we can get an idea to see how fast the AI are on new tires versus how their tire wear is and how the fall off is for them over a long run. However, based on some of the behavior I've seen from them, we're going to run a shorter race with this. We're only going to run 50 laps, which is certainly nowhere near a full fuel run here. And again, we'll talk about that more as the race goes on. As always, we're disabling car damage so that we can keep as many AI cars viable during the race as possible because they are prone to getting into each other and getting into the wall and some of the other weird behavior we've seen at other tracks. Of course, I will be in the Cup Series Chevy Camaro, and I will be using the BR 2021 Cup opponent list that is available through Trading Paints. Huge thank you for those of you who are sharing your wonderful work through Trading Paints and allowing people like me to make collections out of those wonderful paint schemes. Now here's where things start to get a little interesting for this particular track. We're going to be using a 30% skill spread, but the high of that is 95%. Now we've seen at other tracks that we're usually between 70 and 80%. Here, I had to go all the way up to 95%. The very first testing I did was at 80%, and I lapped the field. I mean, it was really bad. And the setup I'm using today is one of my own setups that I've been working on, but it is nowhere near ready for prime time. That is for sure. It is going to be tight on the long run, and I did that on purpose. So we're going to have to see how these guys do on the long run at a max of 95%. Is my setup ultimately so tight that they end up coming back on me? Again, we've seen that at other tracks that we've done in the past where I didn't get all of the tightness worked out and we actually ended up losing time toward the end of the race. So we're going to see if that happens today, but I was certainly not expecting to go up anywhere close to 95% at this track. As always, we'll be starting in the rear, so we'll be 35th on the grid. And I will tell you guys, I keep mentioning that I would like to fill this out with anywhere from 38 to 40 cars. But right now, really the only way that I want to do that would be with previous drivers in the series. So some of the legends of the sport. And up to this point, I have resisted adding those guys to what I am trying to keep as a 2021 grouping. But it is getting harder and harder because some of you guys on Trading Paints are putting amazing paint schemes out there from yesteryear, and it is getting so hard for me not to add them to this list. So we'll keep an eye. Does this list ultimately stay at 34, or do I start adding some here and there from the past? But again, we'll be starting from the rear. Now everything else is basically default. Now there won't be any fast repairs because we're not interested in wrecks in this. So no repairs, there won't be any pit stops, nothing like that. This is simply green flag running to see how the AI respond. But I'm going to scroll down through here and let you guys see again, what is generally the default settings. The only thing really is I prefer the noon starting time, as those are my favorite starting times in real life. That takes care of the pre-race. Let's get to the green flag racing. All right, folks, as we come out of turn 2, getting ready to take the green flag coming off 4, so we don't have a whole lot of time. Real quickly, a huge thank you to those artists on Trading Paints for making all of these wonderful schemes available. Let's see what happens here on the start. We do get the the big lockups as these guys come to almost a complete stop. There we go. All right, there's one. Are we going to do it again? No? Okay, so that was not too bad, all things considered. So starting in the rear, 50 laps, so a short race, comparatively speaking, to what we've done in the past, and that's simply because the AI at this track, there you go. There was one right there. The 66, I have no idea why he just slowed down right there so abruptly.
They're still there.
But there's some very weird behavior at this track by the AI. It's an amazing track. I love this track.
Still there.
And I would really love to see NASCAR utilize this more for the Cup Series in the future, instead of just the trucks and Xfinity, simply because the facility is amazing. And of course the racing we know is amazing as well. But yeah, the AI right now have some very weird behaviors.
That was outside.
I have played around quite a bit with the ratings at this track, just trying to see if there was anything that would trigger a marked improvement in their behavior, and nothing really has. I mean, you can tell that it does affect it, but as far as some of the weird behaviors, it doesn't seem to really affect it at all. So, like right there, I could tell what was causing that. For the most part, that was people trying to squeeze in line.
Still there.
Yeah, right now as we're trying to come through the field, at least somewhat, I'm trying to be careful. You notice that these guys don't really use this bottom groove. Now in turns, oh, hello. It seemed a bit excessive for the minor amount of contact we had, but regardless.
Hold your line. Hold your line.
But yeah, the AI really don't use the bottom groove here.
Up high.
Now in 1 and 2 in particular.
Still there.
I'll try to get up here and use this second groove as well.
There. Stay with them.
But it, particularly down here in 1 and 2,
You're up top.
you'll find that it is very bumpy.
24.3.
There are some bumps, in particular on entry to the corner, that are pretty severe. But I prefer to try to just live through that, simply because at this place the AI don't use that groove, and that just opens up more opportunity for me.
They're still there.
You can see even if I try to force him down there, he doesn't really want to go down there.
You're inside.
All right, now we're kind of stuck because I chose.
Still there. You're up top. 3 wide. Still
See
there.
if we can get up here and use this higher groove a little bit.
Car low. Clear inside. Outside, be careful. B23, clear up high.
Okay, Brian, your water temperature looks quite high.
All right, so where are we? 8 laps in. So we're definitely going to see a big swing out of the tires, as we do everywhere. So we'll see how these guys react. They're faster than me on fresh tires, at least the guys at the front of the field. Probably the first half of the field are faster than me on fresh tires as far as single lap speed, short run type speed.
Outside clear.
But longer run is what we're going to find out. How well do these guys do? How well do they manage their tires? We've seen a lot that the normal case is that they don't do a very good job compared to the player car.
Keep it up.
That lap time was 24.5.
Car outside.
But as long as I keep to the bottom, you can see I've got no competition down here. Nobody's coming down here to block me. Nobody's coming down here to try to take my groove away.
Still there. Stay with them. Hold your line.
So as long as I can make the car handle down here, then
Outside clear. B9 there. Outside.
I'll have my very own groove
24.6.
and fresh air down here as long as I want it.
Hold your line.
You just got to be able to deal with those bumps. A little smoother as you work your way up the track.
They're still there.
Down here in 3 and 4 on the bottom, not really any bumps to worry about that I've noticed. All right, so we're up into the top 20 now. Let's see, where are we? 17. Okay, I'll take that.
Still there. Hold on.
Again, plenty of time. I'm in no particular hurry.
Outside.
Just trying to take what they're giving me.
Still there. Hold your line. Clear up top.
So I designed this setup with the time I had to be a little on the tight side. I knew we were going to be abusing that right side or right front tire
All right, Brian, you're
on the
reeling
long
well
run.
in. The gap's now 0.5.
Mostly because I didn't want to get it too loose for the long run. That's something to work on for later on, to balance out that tire wear. But for right now, tight on the long run is perfectly acceptable. We just hope it doesn't get too tight.
Hold it. Still there. Hold your line. Car outside. Still there.
We
Hold
got
on.
a pretty good run off the corner. Turn forward.
Still there. Hold your line. Maybe wide. You're inside.
Your lap time was
Clear high. Keep it up.
You can see some of those bumps at the bottom of 1 and 2. As long as you don't really dive it down in there hard and get yourself on the splitter,
Inside.
you're generally fine.
Hold your line. Clear up high.
But you will find, and I'm sure I'm going to do it at some point in this race, that there's some bumps here on the entry that if you hit them wrong, it will send you up the track. Particularly if you're trying to really charge the entry.
Car high. Still there. Still there.
That was nice of the 4 car to give us a little contact there mid-corner.
Still there.
Thankfully, no harm, no foul. Didn't really
You're outside.
do anything to
time
either
was
of
at
us.
25.1.
In fact, I only glanced up and happened to see it at the top of the screen. I didn't really feel anything. But yeah, we're definitely getting tight on entry, so I'm going to use a little bit more of the track when we have the opportunity like this.
Okay, Brian, the next car is Bowman.
Very low RPM usage at this place. Can't really do anything about the gear. Not at most tracks. I assume this is the same. I never really tried. I simply started out with the gear they gave me, and that's where we'll stay.
Wide. Hold your line.
But we could definitely use some more RPM.
Outside. Stay down.
Oh, hello. Another little love tap there. Hello. Okay, we'll do that.
Clear outside.
So apparently the 19 really wanted that spot.
They're still there. Monkey in the middle. Clear up top.
All right, I am not going to get in the middle of that 3 wide.
28.
As we've talked about in
Outside.
previous
On the
videos,
high side.
these guys freak out when they get 3 wide.
Car up top.
It's not as bad at the super speedways, but super speedways have
Outside.
their own
Clear.
set of
Outside. Be careful.
serious
Clear high.
issues.
Keep it up. Car up high.
But at most of the tracks, you get these
Still
guys
there.
3
Stay
wide.
with
Look at that. It's that's hilarious.
Clear outside.
But you get them 3 wide, they do not like it at all. They don't know how to react. So generally they
6 plus.
react by hitting you. And I really do not want to turn on that option to have them avoid me. I would think they would do that naturally. Unless, of course, I screw up, which I'm certainly prone to doing. All right, so we're 20 laps
Outside.
in,
Clear high. Outside.
and we have found our way inside the top 10. A little bit of extracurricular fun there for a few laps with the 19 and maybe a few other cars. But now, a little cleaner track. We'll see if at some point the tightness of this setup comes back to haunt me and we run out of speed and these guys start to come back on us and really pull away from us. But so far, so good.
Outside. Clear up high. Car high.
That last lap was at 25.3.
Clear high.
So
Keep
even
it
though
up.
these guys, on their ratings, I have really turned them up as far as how deep they should drive into the corner, I noticed that they're backing out of it pretty early. Let's see what we can do with this.
Quickest at the moment.
So we're definitely beating them on entry,
High side.
which makes it sound like I'm being very aggressive on
There,
entry,
stay
and I
with
don't feel like I am.
Hold it. Still there.
The car ahead is Elliot.
Still there. Hold on.
Okay, Brian. You're up.
Clear outside.
You've just done a 25.6.
I definitely don't feel like I'm running the type of laps that would run away and hide from these guys at this AI speed that we talked about at the beginning. But otherwise, car feels pretty good. Again, it's tight.
P3. You're wheeling this guy in. The gap's now 0.7.
All right, where are we? We're in third now. I didn't realize we were in a podium position right now. All right, we haven't really gotten to a lot of lap traffic yet. Maybe any,
Car on top.
now that I think about it.
Still there. Hold your line.
The gap 2.
Stay low. Stay low. 2 up top.
All right, here we go. That's Logano. He is in second,
Car outside.
right in front of me, and I'm guessing,
Outside clear.
yep, we got by him pretty easily in that corner. All right, so who's leading? That's what we need to know.
You're
Or
in the
did,
lead.
no, I'm leading. Never mind, I wasn't paying close enough attention there. I thought it said Logano was in second, so I was looking ahead for who was in first, not realizing that we passed 2 lead lap cars there at the same time.
You've just done a 25.5.
All right, now once again, as my car starts to go really tight on the long run, I want to see if these guys will come back on me because, again, I'm not pretending that I'm running any amazing pace out here.
We're setting the pace. That lap was at 25.5.
But until then, let's find out how many of these guys we can actually lap. How far up into the field we can lap. Because we got about 20 laps to get it done. Hopefully our crew chief, our virtual crew chief, will keep us up to date
outside.
on
The gap behind is now.
Clear outside.
Your last
Like
lap
that.
time was at 25.4.
what our gap behind is. And if they're catching us, it looks like Logano is still in second. So one of the Penske guys will be the one chasing us down, it appears. But yeah, right now we're just at the very tail end of the field.
Quickest at the moment.
So everything's still spread out. I would imagine that as we get closer to midfield, if we get that far, then we're going to see a lot more cars racing closer together.
High side. Clear high.
But overall, I like the feel of the setup. I got to work the tightness out if I were going to use this, and really want to use this long term. Need to work the
Okay,
tightness
Brian.
out
Lap times are pretty
because it gets really
consistent.
tight over the long run. But the overall feel of it is good. It's nice and stable. But there, I can definitely make some tweaks to keep it from getting so tight on the long run. Of course, there's things you can do driving the car
Hold
that
your
will
line.
accomplish that as well.
Hold your line. Clear up high.
Poor Ricky Stenhouse, this far back, he is not having a good time. You can tell the ratings have not been terribly kind to him. He's also one of the more aggressive drivers, so perhaps he's simply made a lot of mistakes in
The
this
gap behind has
race.
increased to 4.3 seconds.
Same thing here with Alfredo. Very aggressive driver as far as the ratings go.
Outside, be careful. You're clear high.
All right, who's next? Corey LaJoy.
That was
And looks like Ryan
25.5.
Priest. A little surprised to see Ryan Priest back quite this far. But this is a wonderful racetrack with different grooves, and really has been ever since it was built.
The lap time
And of
was
course,
25.5.
it was built to have great racing with different grooves. From the beginning, it was designed that way,
Car up high.
with the variable banking in the corners.
Clear up high.
And I must say, Rusty Wallace and the other designers did an amazing job with it. Also, if memory serves me correctly, this particular track was designed where there is no concrete wall on the outside of the track. You've got the safer barrier, which is backed up by, I believe, compacted dirt, if I remember correctly. Something along those lines. Been a while since I looked into it, but I believe that's right. So no concrete walls behind the safer barriers.
That lap time was
I'm sure somebody will let me know
25.6.
if that is not the case and I am misremembering that. Look at this, Eric Almirola also not having a good day. Finds himself back in, what is that, 28th position?
Car up top.
Again, a little
Still
surprised to
there.
see Almirola back this far.
They're still there. Outside clear.
I've also been glancing every so often to see where the second place car is, either Logano or Keselowski. And right now, they are nowhere to be found on the screen. We have 3 lap cars in between ourselves and second place. So they're at least 2.5 seconds behind. And something tells me a good bit more than that. All right, so at this point, I am not pushing the car at all. Really, I'm just letting the car free flow through the corner.
Pulling away from the guy behind. The gap's now
Just sort of
7.0.
diamonding the corner a lot of time if that's what the car wants. Just really not trying to force the car to do anything, because we don't need to. Again, in the bottom right-hand corner, you can see that we are at least 3.5 seconds ahead of second place, so it is growing.
Car outside.
That minimum distance that we know we
Clear
have.
outside. There, outside. Clear high.
We're quickest right now.
Outside.
The lap time was 25.
You're clear high. Outside. Clear up top.
All right, now we're starting to get into some more traffic as we get closer to midfield. All right, this is not where I want to be.
Car inside.
I'm going to back out of this
Clear.
pretty early. Try to get down to this bottom.
Outside. Clear outside. Outside. Still
Again, I
there.
don't really trust the AI at this track.
Still there.
After the practice I've done and some of the
High side.
short races I did to test the
Still
AI
there.
strength
Stay
and
with
so
them.
on, I just do not trust these
Line.
guys.
Clear up top.
As fun as the track is itself to race on, the AI need a lot of work in my opinion.
Car outside. Hold it. Hold your line. Still there. Hold your line. You're clear high.
You're pulling away. The gap behind is now 8.4. We're currently
Ooh.
setting the pace.
8.4. Yikes. That is a huge lead. All right, good news is we've only got a few laps remaining, so
There, outside. They're still there. Clear high, keep it up. Outside.
42 car on the outside of me. Again, very aggressive driver.
Still there.
That lap was a 25.2.
Outside.
I wouldn't
clear.
expect him to
Car
give me a
high.
whole lot of room, but
Hold
should
your
be a
line.
little bit different since he is now a lap car
Still
instead
there,
of
hold on.
full
Hold
position.
your line, clear up high.
But yeah, I'm noticing some guys that are back here that I wouldn't expect to be quite this far back in the field. The 3-car, for example, I didn't expect him to be quite that far back.
Come on, Brian. 2 laps left.
Clear outside. Car up high.
You've just done a 26.1.
Hold your line.
Perhaps I didn't have them rated quite as highly on speed as I thought I did.
Outside, be careful.
That last lap was out. Pretty front
Clear outside.
All right, there we go. Looks like since this is the last lap, 18th position is in front of us, so there's going to be 18 cars left on the lead lap at the end of this thing. So in only 50 laps, we got that many cars lapped, which tells me that it was a good idea to run a little shorter race because the AI, for whatever reason, just aren't up to it for the longer run. And so if we ran a full fuel run, there's no telling how far we would have gotten lapping cars. We might have lapped the entire field in a full fuel run. So again, with the AI strength we were using, that's just not what I would expect from the cars, and it's not what we've seen at some of the other tracks either. So a very interesting race at a beautiful, beautiful racetrack. Almost missed pit road.
Pit lane speed limit is 40 miles per hour.
So again, this track I believe needs some work, and I hope that it gets some help later on because this is one of my favorite racetracks to run. That's going to do it for today. Thank you so much for joining me, and stay tuned for more AI in iRacing.